You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How you doing? WNBA, Caitlin Clark, injury effect boost the Indiana Fever. And you got KELSEY Mitchell putting down the Ruthie Bolton point guard MVP candidate, putting it down, dropping out, and getting career highs. Indiana Fever, rock and roll, just hooping. We'll talk about that and more today on the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. The bottom line, it starts and finishes, and it moves itself right along. And I'll tell you, folks, it moves itself right along. Is the Indiana Fever, the Caitlin Clark injury effect has boosted the Indiana Fever. Indiana Fever jumped on the Dallas Mavericks, took them down, waddled a little bit. I call it waddling, kind of flopping around like a big bass, just flopping around there in the lake, and get a big lead, give up a big lead, and then finish it out. And when you look at that, you have to say to yourself, well, what happened? Well, you know what? Here's the deal. You take a player like Natasha Howard, right? And Howard comes out, gets you 15, going to go plus 16, right? So Howard reinvented the wheel. And what was happening with that is the Caitlin Clark injury effect is boosting the Indiana Fever. Now, here's what I mean by that so people can really understand. I'm going to take a deeper dive, and I'm going to show you the reaction that I'm talking about, right? So you'll take Mitchell. Mitchell bounces back 26 and 32. That's back-to-back, folks. And, you know, coming in at a +9, you win the ball game 94-86. What happens? Indiana jumps out with the lead, 33-13. You torch them up, right? You come back in the second quarter, you give 7 points of that back, you lose it 30-23. You bounce in the third and you run flat. You let Dallas back in the game. They outscored you 26-18. And then you held your own in the fourth to win the ball game by winning it 2017. But you got to look at Boston, right? Boston's bouncing with 21. And here's the deal where I'm going with the Indiana Fever. You've got so much talent on the Indiana Fever that the Indiana Fever are in a position where Caitlin is watching and seeing what she has. And I think the true coin of it is there's a whole lot more on the Indiana Fever than just Caitlin Clark. In fact, I could really break this down for you, and I could really tell you that Caitlin could go ahead, come back, average 10 points a game, 10 assists, right? Just 10 points and 10 assists, Indiana Fever can win the WNBA championship. That's how powerful they are, right? Because you got to realize with KELSEY Mitchell. Now, let's talk about the blueprint. And when I say blueprint, I'm going to talk to you about Mark Mitchell, right? KELSEY Mitchell's father, right? Basketball coach. And let's understand how good KELSEY Mitchell was and how much scouting, okay, that Lynn Dunn in the Indiana Fever put into KELSEY Mitchell to understand the blueprint of KELSEY Mitchell, and that was Mark Mitchell. Now, when KELSEY Mitchell came out, folks, and we'll take you a step back because we want to run this story the way it's got to be run, and by the time we get done, if you hang with me, I guarantee you this, we're going to get somewhere today. KELSEY Mitchell was the Big Ten Player of the Year. Caitlin Clark was the Big Ten Player of the Year, right? So you got Mitchell was so good. Now this you see in college basketball a lot. They just don't talk about it. But I don't know, women's basketball, if they're doing this is the best move you could do. The Ohio State Buckeyes hired Mark Mitchell. That's how good KELSEY Mitchell was, right? And so you got this player. Everybody's trying to say Mike's not a point guard. I'm like, guys, come on, don't get it confused. You're not going to get a player to be the Big Ten Player of the Year for Ohio State, the Buckeyes, OHIO, and you got Mark Mitchell put the blueprint. Now, the blueprint is simple because the difference between basketball and football or the NFL, you do a lot of walkthroughs. You got a lot more attention to detail, right? So now you got Mitchell says, look, you know, I just listened to my coach, right? You got to fire a shot over the bow because I'm an 8-year vet. So there's nothing you're going to come in here. Speaking of Stephanie White, it was the most dejected press conference I ever seen Stephanie White have because she had to look there and sit there again. There's nothing I could do. I didn't have anything to do with why. Indiana Fever player, the blueprint with KELSEY Mitchell is to just play hoop. You got to go hoop. So what her dad did, Mark Mitchell, I'm going to walk you down through the KELSEY Mitchell history. He took her out there, so you're going to play with the boys. It ain't going to run you off either. They're not going to run you off. You're going to play with the boys, right? And you're going to get it in, and when they get it to you, you're going to give it back to them. So it's just hooping. Now, Money Mike's figured out why Indiana loses the leads, because they get away from just hooping to trying to run plays. And sometimes, folks, it's like oil and water. They don't mix. If the Indiana Fever are just hooping, playing, they call it run and gun, okay? They call it street ball. They call it so many different names. I can't give you all the names, but when the players call each other, if Mitchell calls a player and say, hey, what you doing? You want to go get some run? NBA, they like, hey, man, you want to hoop today? Right? Because sometimes you just got to put it in the perspective. To win, you just hooping. Now, most of the time in the NBA, they come out first 2 weeks, they just hooping. By the time you get to the third, you're going to interchange some of your plays. You're going to get it. But most of the time, they're just playing. The Indiana Fever are a better freelance team than they are a structured team. I want everybody to understand. They're better at just hooping as a freelance. Boston can ball. We would have never seen Boston ball like this, right? And you got to look at that, and then you come back, you go, Lexie Hole can ball. Now, McDonald, if you just hooping, now when you get to the playoffs, folks, you got to realize it's going to get more structured. So it's a little bit more difficult because now you're in a possession basketball. But if you take McDonald and you just hoop it, McDonald's a great hooper. I mean, Ari McDonald can hoop, right? KELSEY Mitchell can hoop. Boston can hoop, right? Lexie Hole can hoop. Cunningham can hoop. Okay, really even Colson can hoop. I seen, man, the WNBA officials, man. I mean, if you take Colson, okay, and put her on 94 feet of pressure with McDonald, you're going to disrupt some things. They're just hooping, folks, and that's what the Indiana Fever got. And when you let the Indiana Fever just hoop, right, it's not about the structure. Now, after the Indiana Fever go out, and it's also one other step that the Caitlin Clark injury effect is going to boost things, right? It's going to boost things. You got to let Caitlin call plays. You got to start letting Caitlin call the plays, right? Because Caitlin's too dialed in. Give her the game plan. Give her a couple sets. Let her call plays, because this team is really, really good. And when you add Boston in there, right? Because Boston, you got to look at it. Asia Wilson, when Mitchell came out, Asia Wilson was the number 1 pick, right? Then you got Mitchell was the number 2 pick, right? Now, if you talk about that and you just hooping, you looked last night, okay, Melissa Smith can play if we just hooping. Now, when you throw all the structure back in there and say, okay, we got to run the, and that's where Stephanie White right now has got to realize Caitlin Clark effect, the boost that you're getting is you're on a glory road, right? That's where Stephanie White is. We're on a glory road right now where the players are telling Stephanie White, and you heard Sophia Cunningham come out, there's too many distractions. I already knew that. I mean, there's so much going on in there that players are like, I don't like you, da-da-da. I mean, it happens. That's how women's basketball comes together. But when you look at that, and you got Sophie Cunningham saying, look, I'm glad we're not at the end of the season because this is a hot mess. Now, Sophie Cunningham can hoop, right? She can hoop, she can run play. She's not a point guard, right? The dribble's too high. I mean, I got a 10-feet yo-yo going on. It's too high, right? But in a matter of time, when it comes to game time, Sophie Cunningham can hoop. So it's really about finding out who the real hoopers are and trust the rookies. Because Mitchell, that's why I say you can play 3 and D with Mitchell, but understand what I mean. Mitchell can sit in the corner until it's time. You give me 8 seconds, I can go score. Now, what's she going to score back? It's the 3 top points in the perimeter, right? It's right around the circle, free throw line and above. That's where she is. That's where she shot and scored all her life. That's why Mitchell's getting it in, and Mitchell say, you guys are soft, right? And she's bringing it back home, and Caitlin's watching all this and really bringing it down. And I'm telling you, man, Mitchell, 32 points. McDonald jumps in there, gets 13. Lexie Hole's got the toughest assignment all night. Only took 4 shots, finished out -7. And then you got Cunningham comes off the bench for a +15, right? And this thing over here, I mean, you got Elijah James, Isaiah James, right? That's the best point guard in the WNBA to me. I mean, if they could figure it out over there in Dallas, they're in a combustible environment in Dallas, like who's running? Paige Bueckers, folks, this one ain't about Paige Bueckers, but I'll come right back and tell you about Paige Bueckers. Bueckers. God almighty, I got to get better. Guys. Paige Bueckers is a bionic AI-built, artificial intelligence, AI-built basketball player. I have never seen anybody do what Paige Bueckers do on the court. Cynthia Cooper told it like it was. Say, Gino prepares players. UConn University, that one there, Paige Bueckers. That one there, if Kirk Conconis can figure this thing out and realize she's not a point guard, what she truly is, Paige Bueckers is probably the only player that can efficiently play the 1 spot, the 2 spot, and the 3 spot. Efficiently now. Efficiently in the WNBA. That's a player I haven't seen with the steps, the movement. I've seen her block shot. I mean, there's nothing she can do because she can defend the 1, the 2, the 3. That's Ryan Howard level. That's Ruthie Bolton, MVP, point guard candidate, Paige Bueckers, right? Every time she takes the court, she gets it in. And this is where the Caitlin Clark injury effect is going to boost Caitlin, because Caitlin's getting an opportunity to see a whole lot of basketball and a whole lot of superstars. And the Indiana Fever are loaded with superstars. It's a blessing getting McDonald. I mean, McDonald's hungry. I mean, how in the world do the scouts and everybody miss one player and it wants to play for the Fever and getting an opportunity strong and just got to play hoop? Sometimes it's going to be scrappy. You know, they call it, I don't know, call it scrappy and nappy or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's ghetto ball, really. It's run and gun. But sometimes that blueprint that Mitchell was raised on was about just hooping. We're going to show up at the gym. We don't need no plays. We hooping. We don't even need no referees, really. We just going to get it up and down. Indiana Fever take them down, 94-86. This whole thing is unraveled, and it's going to get built back up, and that's the leadership of Sophie Cunningham stepping in and saying, good, we got a ways to go, and we got a lot of distractions. We get this thing. Stephanie White's got to let them hoop. It's not going to be about you. It's going to be about letting these players have freedom, and when the Indiana Fever get freedom, that's when they play basketball. Moment you get a run, they build up a big lead, you call timeout and start putting them back in the sets. They shut down. Teams come back easy. That's the problem the Indiana Fever are having. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. It's going to get hot today. But boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, Indiana Fever got a victory against Dallas Wings. Dallas Wings are up and coming. That old Kurt Miller knows how to build a team. But the blueprint, the Caitlin Clark injury effect has boosted the Indiana Fever. You got Kelsey Mitchell, the blueprint of Mark Mitchell. That's hands down. Any environment, any territory, doesn't matter where we went. That's a franchise WNBA point guard. And the Indiana Fever, you got to just let them hoop. Boston can hoop, folks. I mean, you got to look at that. Lexie Hull can hoop, right? They don't need any plays. They understand it. They know what they got to do, offense, defense, and they're trying to get it and get it in. I always tell you, all things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast and the WNBA. That's right. The WNBA is fantastic.